As we have already discussed that for Tinea solium, human is the definitive host. So we know that Tinea solium infects both human and pig. So here pig is the intermediate host for Tinea solium, and same for Tinea saginata. It infects both human and cow, and human is definitive host and cow is an intermediate host for Tinea saginata. Then there is another type of host that is called paratenic host or transport host, when the parasitic stage is simply sheltered by an host or no biological development occurs. In the definitive or intermediate host, there was some biological development, or definitely. If there was sexual development, sexual maturity attains, then it was called definitive, in not intermediate. But in this paratenic host or transport host, no developmental stages occurs, and this host is called paratenic or transport host. For example, in the life cycle of Toxocara canis, rat and rodent act as paratenic or transport host because no biological development occurs on this stage, on this host, and the second stage of larva remain in dormant status in the muscles of the rat and rodents without any further biological development. Then there comes another term that is called reservoir host. रिजर्वर होस्ट आर द होस्ट which harbor the organism without manifesting any disease. मतलब उसमें वो organism रह जाता है बट कोई disease, कोई symptom प्रोड्यूस नहीं करता है. And occasionally these organisms manifest disease in adverse condition of the host. Host में जब ऐसा condition situation adverse condition आता है then it's flare up the disease. In fact reservoir host is the continuous source of organism. उसके अंदर में है बट disease symptoms से ही साइन कर रहा है. अच्छा सिचुएशन मिला, फेवरेबल कंडीशन मिला, इट फ्लेयर अप डिजीज. सो रिजर्वर होस्ट में ये बहुत ही खतरनाक है, क्योंकि रिजर्वर होस्ट में हमें बाहर से पता नहीं चल रहा है कि उसके अंदर वो डिजीज है, इन्फेक्शन है, बट जब भी मौका मिलते ही रिजर्वर होस्ट से इन्फेक्शन वो स्प्रेड करने लगता है. देन देयर कम्स अनदर टू टर्म्स दैट नेचुरल होस्ट एंड अननेचुरल होस्ट. I have already said that natural host इसमें parasite are commonly occur and easily survive and reach to its final stage. It is a natural host and biological development इसमें होता है. जैसे for example Fasciole gigantea occur in sheep, goat and cattle, and these are the natural host. Unnatural host are unnatural host in which the parasite do not occur commonly, but some unusual situation of the parasites may infect and develop. For example, the rabbit may be experimentally infected with Fasciole gigantea, so it will be its unnatural host. Generally Fasciole जो gigantea है ये rabbit को affect नहीं करता है, but हम experimentally अगर डाल दें तो उसमें कर सकते हैं. This is an unnatural host. And another we can also say that experimental host, ये भी nearly same as the natural host, infected with the जब हम experimentally किसी में डाल रहे हैं, चाहे वो natural हो या unnatural हो, experimentally अगर उसको infect किया जाए, we can call that experimental host. Then there come another term that is the vector. It is very much important. What is vector? Vector are arthropod. First important thing, vectors are the arthropods which harbor the parasitic pathogen without any recognizable disease entity and act as continuous source of the infection to other animals. Arthropod, the insects are the arthropods. Within these the parasites are present but कोई disease वगैरह produce नहीं हो रहा है, but they act as a source of infection to the other animals are called vectors. Sexual maturity of the parasite may have occurred in the vector. उसके अंदर sexual maturity भी हो सकता है. And what are the example of the vector? Mosquito, blood sucking fly, they are the called the vector. Now we will discuss the mode of infection for the parasite, and first comes that ingestion. Ingestion means eating throughout the food. If you are ingesting the parasite or the some of the part of the parasite, I am coming into the details about that. That will be called ingestion. So that is the first route. Second is skin penetration. If the parasite is penetrating the skin and enters the body, it is the second mode of infection. Third is by insect. If the parasites are being carried out through the insects. Fourth one is direct contact. If the parasites come through the direct contact of infected and uninfected animal, this can another mode. And the fifth one is inhalation. With the inhaled air, if the parasite come inside the body. Now going into the ingestion details. In the ingestion process, there are different ways to get the infection in this ingestion, through ingestion. First, if we ingest or if the animal ingest parasitic eggs, there will be the parasite can enter into the body. If the animal ingest parasitic cyst or oocyst or parasitic larva or the metacercaria stage or the Sarcaria stage, or the fish, if the animal in the take fish which is loaded with the parasite, that is another way. If through flesh or meat, if the animal is consuming some meat which is containing the parasite, or there is ingestion of some aquatic or non-aquatic arthropods which contain the parasite inside them, or ingestion of the earthworm which contain the parasite, ingestion of the aquatic vegetation, some of the plants or vegetation that are in the aquatic region having the parasites. So these are the routes, or these are the way through which the parasite can be ingested. Then there comes, I'm not giving into the much details. Another point is skin. If we, okay, some example I must give. So for example, this was the first I said that through the parasitic eggs. Okay, for example, eggs, I think in the most of the parasites, and for the most commonly I can say ascaris worms, the eggs of the ascaris worms, they are present in the environment, and ingestion of the eggs, that can cause the infection of the parasite or the parasitic cyst, parasitic larva, whatever, anything it may be. Metacercaria stage, meat, fish, or all I have to say it. Then there comes the second is skin penetration. For example, hookworm, the larva of Ankylostoma duodenale, Ankylostoma brasiliensis, Ankylostoma caninum, all these, they can penetrate the skin and infect the animal. Then through insect, the third was through insect. Blood sucking arthropod, as I have already discussed earlier, as act as a vector of the many of the protozoan parasite. For example, tabanas species is a fly, tabanas species, tomoxis species. Okay, these flies, they transmit different protozoal infection. For example, trypanosoma species, trypanosoma, it is a protozoal infection are being carried out by these flies. In addition to flies, anopheles species. And what is anopheles? They transmit the mosquito. And this mosquito, what do they cause? They causes the malaria, plasmodium. Okay, Plasmodium vivax. This protozoa cause malaria in the human, and who is carrying that parasite? Anopheles mosquito. So Anopheles mosquito through insect. Then the fourth one was by direct contact. Okay, and mainly the parasites which are residing on the skin, they can infect through the direct. They can infect the other animal through direct contact. That means who are the ectoparasites mainly. That may be the flea, tick, mite. All these can be transmitted through direct contact of the animals. And then another one is, the last one was that inhalation. Eggs, inhalation of eggs, there is another example. I should give one example. Egg of Enterobius vermicularis may goes to the body of the animal through inhalation, and they can cause the disease. Now I will discuss another topic on parasitism, that is the specificity of this parasite. As I think you have already have an idea that how the parasites are very much specific for the different species or different condition. For example, type of the host, and let's take an example, that is the gigantodactyl explanatum. This occurs only in buffalo. So this is host specific. Different parasites are host specific. Then comes to the breed specificity. As you know, already know that in case of different bacterial or viral diseases, indigenous many cattle or indigenous breeds are very less susceptible compared to the exotic breeds. And the same things also happen for different parasites. For an example, trypanosoma species. Okay, the indigenous breeds are resistant to different parasites, as I have said, that trypanosoma species. So that it has been observed that the indigenous breeds are more resistant to these trypanosoma parasites compared to the exotic breeds. Then comes the sex specificity. There is a parasite, Trichomonas fetus, that is that affect the female cattle suffer more from this Trichomonas fetus, and the males suffer less and mainly act as a carrier. Trichomonas vaginalis, they also invariably occur more in case of female. Then there is another specificity, that is system specificity. For example, Trypanosoma gambiense, Trypanosoma rhodesiense affect the nervous system. They will not affect other system, but this system only. There is also the organ specificity, as I have already discussed. Liver fluke, fasciola gigantica, fasciola hepatica, what they affect? They only affect liver and this bile duct. So they have specificity for that organ. Then there comes cell specificity. Theileria, Scion, they only occurs in lymphocyte. They are very much cell specific. Then comes location specific. Location means the location or the area in which area. For example, Imeria bombayensis. It occurs only in Bombay. From the name itself, it is clear. Imeria bombayensis. It is area specific.